welcome to a very unspecial, a very wretched, a very horrible episode of Uncanny Treks. That's right, it's the episode where Bob from Cascadia reports back from the wars. He climbs out of the trench and he tells Matt what went on during Madam Web, the 2024 blockbuster in the Sony Spider-Man universe. That's Matt from the Southland. Matt, are you ready to get webbed up?
Bob, I just can't believe you went to see Madam Web. It looks so terrible. Everything about it looked awful.
A friend was making fun of me for going to see it and for my expressed interest in also seeing the Kraven the Hunter movie. And he compared it to, you've seen Hellraiser?
Yes.
He compared me to Uncle Frank, a guy who's so oversexed, so overstimulated that he can't feel in any other way except for by playing with a Lamont configuration and summoning the Cenobites. And my boy Noah made the point that I'm Frank, and the Sony Spider-Man universe is my Cenobites. And let me say, Matt, the Sony Spider-Man universe has such sights to show you, such sights.
Yeah, I want to hear about this, Bob. Tell me a little about Madam Web.
All right, and it sounds like you're in a good and healthy mind space, Matt. It sounds like you're well adjusted. It sounds like your wife loves you, your pets love you. I'm not worried about this, but before I say this, I want you to promise me that no matter what I say, you will never watch this movie.
I'm not planning on watching this movie, Bob.
No, I don't want to know about your plans, Matt. I need a promise.
Well, if it doesn't come to HBO Max, I'm not going to watch the film.
Okay. But do you not have Netflix? Because it's probably going to come to Netflix. I think it might be on Netflix in a month.
You think it might be on Tubi?
Oh man, it might be on Tubi, dog. It might be. Well, Tubi will be really easy for you to not watch because they got ads on Tubi.
Yeah, I don't watch it.
Yeah, you do not want ads interrupting your Madam Web experience, Matt.
Well, Bob, if it ever airs on like USA Network at some point, like during the middle of the day, and I'm home, maybe I'll watch it. Maybe, I don't know, Bob. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, Bob. I'll make this promise. I will not watch Madam Web until you die.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. I accept that.
There you go.
I mean, I can't be held responsible for what happens after my death. That's fine. One other thing. So, Matt, what are the 3 Marvel movies coming out this year?
So I think there's Deadpool and Wolverine, which looks great to me. And even though you think I like Deadpool 2. I was okay with Deadpool 1. I think you would enjoy all these films if you would actually watch them.
That's not true.
Okay. You went to see Madam Web. Like, your opinion, I mean, like, I don't even, like, how can you get worse? Like, I don't know.
Well, keep going. What are the other 2 MCU movies?
Hold on. You got to give me a second here. All right. There's a Venom 3 is coming out, and Kraven the Hunter.
Oh no, those are Sony Spider-Man.
Oh.
MCU.
Oh, I think that's.
You best believe I'm going to see Kraven and Venom 3, Matt. You best believe.
But you're not going to see Deadpool and Wolverine. That makes no sense at all. Sorry, Captain America: Brave New World is the other.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not seeing that. And the reason I'm not seeing that is I get the feeling that I would need to have watched Falcon and Winter Soldier to understand Cap 4, and there's no way in the world I'm watching another Marvel Disney miniseries burned too many times. No,
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that they're going to give you a little synopsis at the beginning in case you didn't watch it all. And there wasn't that much that happened in it.
Not doing it.
Yeah, and then the other one is Agatha Harkness.
Oh, that's not a movie. That's a miniseries.
Right. So that's all we've got coming out of Marvel in the next.
Okay. Yeah. So I hated WandaVision, so no way in the world am I going to watch the spinoff.
I hated WandaVision. Jeez, Bob. Your taste in these movies is like weird. WandaVision's okay.
The MCU is boring, Matt. It's just really boring. And I want to make clear that the average MCU movie is better than Madam Web easily. But this movie, I would still say, I've had more fun thinking about it than I have Black Panther 2 or Ant-Man 3. Those are 2 of the worst films I've ever seen.
Okay.
And
I'll give you this, Bob. I didn't see Ant-Man 3 because I didn't see Ant-Man 2 because Ant-Man 1 was just okay for me. So I get what you're...
In my memory, Ant-Man and Ant-Man 2 were both okay, but Ant-Man 3 was so terrible, I question my memory.
And then Black Panther 2 was bad, but
yeah,
I don't think they knew where they were going with that. Because there's
it's hard to make a movie after your star dies.
Right.
They shouldn't have done it like that, but Yeah, it's a hard situation. And I do want to be clear, Matt. The biggest problem with Madam Web is like literally just on a technical level. There's two different theories about this movie. Is this a leftover script from the 90s? That's one theory. I believe that theory. But cutting against that is another thing, which is, I swear to God, this screenplay was written by AI. There's no way a human wrote the lines of dialogue in this movie. And Matt, I'm not somebody who close reads film dialogue, but I swear to God, every line of dialogue in this movie is longer than it needs to be. There's an extra 2 clauses in every sentence that don't need to be there, and you're just squirming in your seat about why is this taking so long. And so not only is the dialogue really badly written and needlessly long, but everybody in the cast sucks. Everybody does a terrible job. And some of these people have competently acted in other things. Not all of them, but some of them have. And it also sounds they shot this movie like Italian style. Have you ever seen an Italian movie from the 60s and the 70s?
Yeah, you got the flashback piece. Is that a part of it?
Well, it's partly the flashback because Clint Eastwood westerns like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for a few dollars more, those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason and Italian movies didn't just get Clint Eastwood. They also got like actors like Burt Reynolds, Charles Bronson, Carol Baker, and had them in their movies. And the reason they were able to do that was that until sometime in the 80s, they shot Italian movies like they were silent movies, and then they just overdubbed the voice on top of the footage. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. Huh.
So that's why you would get all these American actors and English actors going to Italy to make movies, because for the Italian market, they would just dub an Italian voice over them, right?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it sounds like they did that with this movie, but that every line of dialogue was recorded by the cast member on Zoom, and it was really lagging. Very bad. It's incredible. And all this only gets worse because do you know what Madam Web's powers are, Matt?
She can see in the past, right?
Not just the past, Matt.
Or in the future. She can see in the
clairvoyant.
future.
She's clairvoyant. And so many scenes that, and you would think like, oh, you're going to make a movie about a clairvoyant, about a seer, about someone who can see the future. You would think that would mean you would do action scenes multiple times, right?
Right.
No. Instead, you would take the most banal dialogue scenes you have, the worst dialogue scenes you have, and then you would have her relive them 2 or 3 times until she figures out that, oh, she's seeing a possible future.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, Bob. So in order to advertise this film, Dakota Johnson hosted Saturday Night Live. And Dakota Johnson, she plays Madam Web, you know, that's I'm sure you're familiar with her. So anyway.
Well, a slight correction there. The movie's called Madam Web. Dakota Johnson is not Madam Web until the last minute.
Oh.
Like, for most of the movie, she's just Cassie Webb.
Gotcha.
Madam Web's real name. She's not in 90s Marvel or 90s superhero movie style. She's not the hero until literally the very, very end of the movie, the last minute.
So during Dakota Johnson's monologue, Bob, she said Sony wrote a movie with AI that your boyfriend will enjoy. So if you were asking earlier about if the dialogue was written by AI, it probably was.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be.
And I think the lead star practically confirmed that. So it's just yeah, it's insane.
So this is skipping ahead a little, and we'll come back. But have you seen Dakota Johnson in anything?
Dakota Johnson is famous, Bob, because her dad is Don Johnson and her mother is Melanie Griffith. But she was also in 50 Shades of Grey. She was the main character in those films.
Yeah.
So that's what she's famous for. But someone asked her, one of the funniest jokes I heard on that SNL thing too is they did the roast of Dakota Johnson. Okay. And one of the guys says, do you still have to audition or do they give you the part as soon as Aubrey Plaza says no?
That's good. That's good.
She is not Aubrey Plaza. I can tell you that right now.
I've seen Dakota Johnson, I guess, in the 50 Shades of Grey trailers, just the trailers.
Yeah.
And I've seen her in 2 mob movies I've watched. One was with Johnny Depp called Black Mass, and one was set at a hotel on the California-Nevada line called Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh, that's a great movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, she's in both of those movies, but
I don't remember her.
I
don't remember her either, Bob.
Yeah.
I don't remember for that either. I watched the whole film, and I still don't know what her character. I don't remember which character she was because she just doesn't stand out. She doesn't stand out. Her acting is wooden as it can possibly be, and it's not that Aubrey Plaza thing either. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You can't even make that comparison really, but because it's just not the same.
I think in Bad Times at the El Royale, maybe she's one of. Is it Chris Hemsworth who has cultist in that movie? Maybe she's one of his cultists.
It's a possibility. I'll have to. I don't know. That was a great film though, but I do not remember her at all in it. I have no clue who she played.
Yeah. So I don't feel like I have enough evidence to definitively say Dakota Johnson is a bad actress.
Well, she's a bad actress. I can tell you she's a bad actress.
But this is certainly she is terrible in Madam Web. That is certainly true.
When I saw that she was Madam Web, Bob, I questioned their casting choice. But it sounds like they were. It sounds to me like they were like testing the waters with a lot here, just to see. Okay, so we're going to write the film with AI. We're going to cast someone that we know is not that great of an actress to put in the main role. I don't know how much they paid her, but I'm sure it wasn't significant. I mean, think about it. There's so many different things here.
Apparently her and Sydney whatever, who's the actress who plays the Julia Carpenter Spider-Woman.
Yes.
Apparently they, or at least this is what their press agents are putting out. They thought this was going to be an MCU movie, and it's not. It's only, quote, in association with Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
So, Matt, I do want to come back to what was the actual main purpose, the real reason this film exists.
Why, Bob?
Do you have any idea what the real reason for this film existing is?
Well, most films are created, Bob, so that you can advertise. Were there advertisements?
Yes. This is a Pepsi product ad. There's Pepsi all over this movie. Literally, the young actress playing Maddie Franklin, the Spider-Girl character, Maddie Franklin, she basically has an orgasm when she gets a Pepsi bottle at the end of the movie. She's so happy that she gets to drink a Pepsi. Mountain Dew is all over this movie. And there's both a key early scene and the climax of the movie take place in a Pepsi warehouse. But the thing you learn about Pepsi, and this is what actually makes me question this, that this was paid for by Pepsi. Apparently, Matt, Pepsi is explosive.
Oh.
So to kill the villain, the Madam Web and the Spider-Girls run around this Pepsi warehouse, putting emergency flares from an ambulance in different crates of what I presume is Pepsi. And then the flares go off, and then the crates of what I presume are Pepsi catch fire, and the warehouse starts to burn down.
It sounds like the AI, like when the AI thing, they said have to advertise Pepsi somehow, and this is what it produced, exploding Pepsi.
And do you know what kills the villain of the movie, Matt?
No, Bob.
It's the lowercase p from the Pepsi warehouse sign falls on him.
This is terrible. Oh my
Madam Web herself is nearly killed by the S from the Pepsi sign. So
wow.
Yeah. My friend Noah was speculating that actually this wasn't paid for by Pepsi. It was paid for by Coke because it makes Pepsi look so bad.
Pepsi's officially lost the Cola Wars thanks to Madam Web. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, in a real sense, whether Pepsi paid for this or whether Coke paid for it to humiliate Pepsi, Pepsi's lost, man. Pepsi's over. How can Pepsi return from this?
Jeez, man.
So, Matt, when I saw the trailer for this, I thought this was going to be a movie about Spider-Women, 3 or 4 Spider-Women, to the point where I questioned why are they calling it Spider-Women, or why aren't they calling it Spider-Women instead of Madam Web? Did you get that vibe from the trailer?
I did, and let me tell you, when I saw the trailer, I got vibes that this was going to be like the Birds of Prey film. It's like the emancipation of Harley Quinn or whatever it was called. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little more like that, and that was sort of an origin story where you met all these different characters and they became.
No, Matt, You were wrong. It's actually more like the Birds of Prey, the TV show.
From the WB?
From the WB, yes.
Oh,
The
gosh.
pre-Arrow, pre-CW Birds of Prey TV show. So one thing is every Spider-Woman in this movie, except for Madam Web, is a teenager. I don't know how old the actresses are. I think the actress playing Julia Carpenter is like 26. But the characters are supposed to be high schoolers.
Yeah.
Which makes it a little weird how thirsty this movie wants you to be for the three main teenage girls. Two of them are wearing belly shirts. One of them is wearing a really short skirt. And there's a scene where they like table dance to Britney Spears. And it's, even though I don't think these women are teenagers, I think they're all probably actresses in their 20s. Why is the film trying to make me lust after like teenage girls? It's very sick. Frankly,
Yeah.
it's sick. There's no
Well,
way around
Sydney Sweeney is famous for Euphoria, where she plays a high school girl.
it. Yeah.
I'm thinking
And
that was what they were
Yeah.
going for.
Well, I've never seen Euphoria, but from what I understand, there's at least stuff going on in Euphoria. It's an interesting portrayal of teenage life, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched a couple episodes. It's interesting, but I mean, you do have to. The whole point, though, is that they are using adult actors to play teenagers, which I mean,
Yeah.
for the scene, for what they're discussing and talking about, that makes sense in Euphoria. Whereas here, I didn't see the movie, but I'm assuming it's not as adult as Euphoria.
No. Well, and so the other insane thing is that there are the three Spider Girls, but Madam Web has her powers in the movie, more or less. The Spider Girls never get their powers.
What?
And yeah, and you know the scenes of them in costume that you saw in the trailer?
Yeah, and the
In this
posters and
cut
stuff.
of the film, yeah, in this cut of the film, at least, they're only in costume for like 2 minutes. So the villain, who we'll talk about in a minute, he's tormented by a vision of those three Spider Girls coming to kill him in his apartment and succeeding. And then at the end, Madam Web, once she's actually Madam Web, has a vision of the three Spider Girls in costume with powers doing their Spider Girl thing. But that's it. They don't have their powers in the movie. They don't get their powers in the movie. They don't have costumes in the movie. These are all just visions of the future.
That is so lame. What? Like, how are they? Do they at least set up anything that like points in the direction of like the origins from the comics, like with Spider-Woman? You know, getting the testing done on her or whatever that turns her into Spider-Woman, or
No, not at all. Not at all. And so the weird thing here, Matt, so I've compared this to Birds of Prey. I'm also going to compare it to Smallville. So, and this is actually something that's constant through this Sony Spider-Man universe that I find fascinating. So, in the Venom movie, the entire point of the Venom movie is that you have symbiotes that can make people Spider-Man, right?
right?
They're Venom or they're Carnage or they're Toxic or they're, Shriek or whatever. Or Shriek's not a symbiote, but you get my meaning. They're stand-in Spider-Man. So that's in Venom. And then in Morbius, you get vamped. You become a morb. You become a vampire. And you're basically Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, you just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so the Sony Spider-Man franchise without Spider-Man is a long series of coming up with many, many substitutes for Spider-Man. That's basically the project, right?
You're right.
And so here, the version that takes is, Matt, what if I told you there was a tribe of people in the Peruvian Amazon who were spider people who wear jungle versions of Spider-Man's costume and jump around a little?
Okay.
So, like, there's a whole tribe of Spider-Men and spider people in the jungle in the background of this movie. And maybe you're supposed to assume that the jungle spider people from Peru make the three spider girls, but there's nothing that really clarifies that.
This is the weirdest, Bob. I don't even know. Are we gonna have Kraven hunting these spider tribe people? Is that what they're setting up?
The trailer I saw about Kraven the Hunter made it look like a generic action movie where he had animal senses.
Okay.
That was the trailer I saw. If he were hunting either the spider girls or the spider people, I think that would be pretty cool. I'd be down for that. I certainly want some sort of payback for this movie, but no, I got the sense that Craven will be a kind of like standalone generic action movie.
Yeah. This is insane, Bob. If you're going to have these characters and not even pursue anything that's remotely connected to them other than their identities, just their names. What else? What else? Do the characters act like they're supposed to? Does Madam Web act like Madam Web, or is she just Dakota Johnson?
This is where it gets hard. The only Madam Web stuff I don't know that I've ever read a comic where Madam Web plays an important role. The only real exposure I have to Madam Web is in the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s where she's like the multiversal conduit or whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing too. I really only know her from that animated series, and she doesn't look anything like Dakota Johnson or seems to be doing anything Dakota Johnson's doing in this film.
Well, I mean, I will say, to give Dakota Johnson credit, so she gets apparently paralyzed and blinded in the final fight scene from falling in water. That's a little ambiguous how that would happen.
Falling in water? She broke her legs falling in the water.
Yeah. She does that a lot. She falls in water at least 3 times in this movie. That's actually what originally triggers her powers too, is she falls in water.
Okay.
And she was also water birthed. We'll get into that in a minute. So, you know, water's doing a whole lot of symbolic lifting in this movie. And it would seem... Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But I will, to give Dakota Johnson credit, in that last scene, she looks full on Madam Web from the comics. You can't take that away from her. The Spider-Girls, you get some sense of what they look like and their powers from this 2-minute scene where they're trying to kill the villain. And I guess it's comics accurate. I actually have to confess, I've never read a comic where, so the 3 Spider-Girls are Arana, Julia Carpenter, and Maddie Franklin. And I've never really read a comic where any of them are majorly important. I've seen the 90s Iron Man cartoon where Julia Carpenter's in that, but I couldn't tell you really anything much about their personalities. But
Spider-Woman's the one I'm the most familiar with.
That's Julia Carpenter.
Yeah, Julia Carpenter. And that's because she was in some of the video games as well, like in Marvel Legends, things like that, yeah.
You're sure it's her and not Jessica Drew?
Oh, well, now that could be different. It's the costume that Sydney Sweeney wears, so...
Okay, that is yeah. So the kind of black costume, that's Julia Carpenter.
Yeah.
Whereas Jessica Drew is that red costume from the late 70s, early 80s.
Oh, no, not that one, no. Okay. Now, Maddie Franklin, that's the niece of J. Jonah Jameson, right?
Jameson, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And they actually do reference Jonah in this movie. Maddie Franklin makes a quick reference to her uncle Jonah.
Oh, good, okay. So we do have that connection at least. And then this, the Anya Corazon Arana, I have no idea who that is, Bob.
They introduced her, I think, in the 2000s. She was like this spate of characters that were supposed to be like young characters that were to catch on. The really smart guy, Amadeus Cho, who's a Hulk sidekick, I think she and he were like introduced in the same series.
Okay.
So I can't really say anything about these characters' personalities or traits or powers in the comics. I will say, in the movie, they do establish the 3 Spider-Girls as all having pretty distinct personalities. I mean, they're really, really simplistic personalities, but it's like Julia Carpenter is this neglected, unwanted daughter in her dad's second marriage. She is always sucking up to Madam Web and is clearly desperately seeks adult approval. That's Sydney Sweeney or Julia Carpenter. Maddie Franklin is portrayed as really rich, really kind of devil-may-care, but also aggressive black girl. She's the one who's probably the closest to being a full character of the 3. And then Anya Corazon is basically just portrayed as being a math nerd. You know this because she has like a math shirt and she occasionally does very, very easy math and it's treated like it's deeply impressive. So yeah, I would say that Maddie Franklin is the closest to being a character, and Anya Corazon, at least that's presented in this movie, is the furthest away from being a character.
I really figured the Julia Carpenter Spider-Woman was going to play a bigger piece, especially since they got, I think Sydney Sweeney is probably your like most recognizable of this. Well, see, that's the thing too. Like I feel like even their casting was so off because because I know Dakota Johnson's been around longer and been in some bigger films, but Julia Sweeney is like turning into America's sweetheart at this point, I think. But this is probably going to bomb her career.
Yeah. It's a real question about whether her career can survive this, I think.
And then the other two characters, I don't know. I really don't have any. They just kind of were there, and I'm like, okay. In the trailer, at least, it's like there's other Spider Women.
Yeah. No, well, like I said, the trailer makes you think they're Spider Women, but really they're Spider Girls.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's crazy. So Matt, do you know when this movie is set?
Is it not set in present day?
No, you would think that, but no. It's set in 2003, which is absolutely wild. Well, so sometimes it's because they want to do a conscious nostalgia piece, right? I already mentioned the scene of the three Spider Girls table dancing to Britney Spears' Toxic. So sometimes it's because they want to do that. Other times they seem to totally forget that it's set in 2003 and that it could just as easily be set in the present day. But the real reason, Matt, I already said that this is the Birds of Prey, the TV show of Marvel movies. What if I told you it's also the Smallville, the TV show of Marvel movies?
What do you mean by that?
So, Matt, do you know who Madam Web's best friend and her partner as a paramedic is in this movie?
No.
Did you pick up on who the actor was from the trailer?
Is it Adam Scott?
It is Adam Scott. Do you have an opinion on Adam Scott? I really don't have an opinion on Adam Scott.
He shows up to be like the annoying entitled character. Yeah. He was in Step Brothers. He was also on Parks and Recreation. He becomes a love interest, but he's really odd at the beginning. He has one of those punchable faces when you look at him.
Yeah, he plays the coked up baseball scout in Eastbound and Down for a couple episodes.
Oh, yeah. I remember that too, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have much of an opinion about him. He was fine in Eastbound and Down. I don't really have much of an opinion about him beyond that. He's terrible in this, although, again, I'd be willing to say not his fault with Dakota Johnson. I would want to judge them as terrible based on other work. But so he is Cassie Webb's paramedic partner, but he's also somebody you know from the Spider-Man mythos, Matt. You care to guess?
I don't have a clue, Bob.
Well, Matt, so if we take this movie as being, say, a prequel to the Tom Holland movies, and if it's set in, say, 2003,
okay, what
might be going on in this 2003 movie?
The Sam Raimi?
No, the Tom Holland.
Oh, the Tom Holland. Oh.
Though it is, you're right that there does seem to be a weird nostalgia piece for Sam Raimi Spider-Man by setting it right after the first Sam Raimi.
Yeah, because that would have been when I think Spider-Man 2 came, or either Spider-Man 2 or 3 came out around that time.
I think it would have been between Spider-Man 1 and 2, I think.
Yeah. I don't know, who is it, Bob?
Adam Scott is Ben Parker, Matt.
What?
And not only is Ben Parker a major character in this movie, he references that he's just found a really wonderful woman, although he doesn't name her, but clearly he's talking about May. So it seems like he's probably talking about Marissa Tomei as May Parker. And not only is Ben Parker in this movie, Matt, do you know who else is in this movie? Mary Parker. Do you know who Mary Parker is, Matt?
Is that Ben's? No. Who is that?
It's Ben's sister-in-law, Peter's mother. And not only is Mary Parker in this movie, but she's pregnant.
Oh, God.
And
really?
Yeah. And so Ben drags Cassie Webb to a baby shower.
No.
For pregnant Mary Parker. Yep.
Which would be Peter Parker, which is Spider-Man. So
yeah.
they actually got...
Well, they don't say Peter, Matt. They never say Peter. They play a game where they guess what Mary's going to name her child, but the word Peter is never said.
Oh, my God. This is awful.
And Richard Parker, Mary's husband, is mentioned, but he's off. They don't say doing spy stuff, but he's off doing spy stuff in like Mumbai or Singapore.
This is awful.
Oh, it gets better. It gets better, bro. It gets better. So, and I actually think there's like deep symbolic importance to this, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But so basically, I already said the villain, is having visions that the three Spider Girls are going to kill him, right?
Yes.
So he is trying to kill the three Spider Girls, and Madam Web is protecting the three Spider Girls from him. That makes sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
So what Madam Web decides she has to do in the midst of the villain trying to kill the three Spider-Girls is she has to leave them and go to Peru for a week to discover her true origins.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So she just leaves the three Spider-Girls with Ben Parker in Mary and Richard Parker's home, where Mary is pregnant with a son, and these three teenage girls just apparently just hang out in this house and don't leave the house. And we'll get to why they can't leave in a moment. But they just hang out in this house for a week with Adam Scott and Mary Parker. And then Mary Parker goes into labor. And so Adam Scott has to drive Mary Parker to the hospital. And so the start of the climax of the movie is Madam Web getting back from Peru to rescue the three Spider-Girls and the in process of being born Peter Parker from the villain.
Oh my God, this is so bad, Bob. This is like the worst thing. I want to watch this now just because it sounds so awful. This is terrible.
That's why I made you not while I'm alive, Matt.
But Bob, I got to see Peter Parker's baby shower.
And you do actually see baby Peter Parker at the end of the movie. Although again, he's still never called Peter, but you do see born baby Parker at the end.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
Can we get
you see how in Venom they create Spider-Man from venom, from symbiotes. In Morb, it's from vamping. Here, it's both the Peruvian spider people, but it's also just you actually have Spider-Man, sort of.
This is so terrible. Like I can't even justify. I only have questions to ask because it's so stupid that I don't even want any justification on anything. I just want this was odd. Bob, this had to have actually been written by AI. There's no the way you're describing it. I could see what they put in there. Like they needed this. We have to have Spider-Man, and at some point we can't call him Spider-Man. We can't have
Well, and they were hoping that this would succeed, and they were hoping that this could be a prequel to the Tom Holland Spider-Man. That's my belief.
Yeah, there's a lot they were trying to do here that just does not take off. This is awful.
It also gets very complicated because fact check me on this. So the Venom movies take place on a parallel Earth, right?
Yeah.
And then at the end of Venom 2, we see Venom on the MCU Earth. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
In
Mexico or something like that.
Yeah, in Mexico. And then Morbius or Morb, that takes place on the same parallel Earth that Venom takes place on, because your favorite line from Morbius is where he says, "I'm Venom."
Yeah, that's everyone's favorite line.
Everybody's favorite line, not just. I shouldn't single you out, Matt. America's favorite line. From Morbius.
We all loved it. That's why we all went to see it twice.
Yeah,
that's why we all were like, "Bring it back, Sony! Bring it back for another week."
Oh no, I saw it twice, Matt.
Yeah,
I saw it twice. So, but then at the end of Morbius, Vulture, Michael Keaton is Vulture, although not really Michael Keaton playing him, but Michael Keaton is Vulture from the Tom Holland Spider-Man comes to Morbius and Venom's Earth, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then Tom Holland Spider-Man is fully just on the MCU Earth, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so I think that this movie was intended, even though it's supposed to be Sony Spider-Man universe, I think this movie has to take place on the MCU Earth, and we're seeing the birthing circumstances of Tom Holland as Peter Parker. Does that track?
That does track, yes. Yes.
So it's wild because it means in the Sony Spider-Man universe Earth, there's, as far as we know yet, no Spider-Man. There's just vampire and symbiote substitutes for Spider-Man. But in the MCU Earth, if we take this movie as canon, which it won't be accepted as canon, but if we take this movie as canon, it means that before the Avengers and before Tom Holland Spider-Man, in about 2008, in the MCU Earth, there were a gang of Spider-Girls who went around fighting crime and killing people.
Yeah, Bob, Spider
And so
everything.
you see why,
Doesn't this sound like a fun
yeah,
universe to
Spider
be a part
everything.
of?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Think
And
of
you
all the
see why I
potential.
compare this to Smallville.
Yeah.
I mean, you see why? Because it's in the same way that in Smallville, as I understand it, basically everything else in the DC universe existed before Superman,
Yes.
or
that
in
is correct.
Gotham, everything else, yeah, in Batman existed before Batman. Here with Madam Web, and also to a lesser extent with the other Sony Spider-Man movies, we've arrived at a point where everything Spider-Man related, Spider-Man knockoff, Spider-Man derivative, actually predates Spider-Man himself.
Yeah, this is insane. It's like they tried to do one of those shows, but in film version. You can't. The reason that like Gotham and Smallville happened that way is because they kept getting renewed for new seasons, so they kept having to add more stuff and more
Yeah,
mythos and
yeah,
add more lore and all this crap.
yeah.
But in a film that's only what is this an hour and a half? I mean, how are you going to cover all that? And why?
Mhm.
Why would you want to do
Well,
that?
no, it's a 2 hour movie, Matt. And to go back to the original point, you really feel the 2 hours.
You do.
But because of Madam Web's powers, you have to re-experience scenes 2 and 3 times. Let me just be clear. You really feel the 2 hours of this movie. You notice. You get uncomfortable in your seat.
God. Oh well. I don't know what to tell you, Bob. This sounds terrible. It sounds like one of the worst films they've ever made at this point. I don't think that.
All right, we're winding down, but we have a few other things to go.
Oh
So,
shit, there's
do
more.
you know who the? Oh, there's more. Do you know who the villain is, Matt?
Okay, from what I got from the trailers, it's some guy that's dressed like Spider-Man, but not as agile.
Oh, that's an interesting way of putting it. Yeah. Do you remember the terrible JMS run on Amazing Spider-Man?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you remember the old guy he introduces in the beginning of that run? Ezekiel Sims.
Yes, Ezekiel Sims. Yes, because he was such a random ass character. Yes, I remember him, and he was
Yeah.
mentioned
Do you,
later.
do you
in, like,
remember? Well, no. This is after the Clone Saga.
Oh, after the Clone
Clone
Saga.
Saga is like mid '90s.
That's right.
This is like early 2000s. JMS's run is also the run where there's a 9/11 issue where you see Doctor Doom.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Okay, yes. All right, I just pulled a picture. Yes, Ezekiel Sims. I do remember this. I don't. Yeah.
Do you remember what his deal was?
No. It's something to do with something to do with spiders, though. Like apparently.
Yes. So he has Spider-Man powers, and so in the comics, you always see him walking around in a suit, but with no shoes and walking on walls, right?
Right.
And you find out that there's something to do with like Spider-Man is the avatar of a spider god, and all of his villains are avatars of other different animal spirits. That's why you have so many animal villains: Doc Ock, Chameleon, etc. That track.
Yeah, I got that. That
You know,
tracks.
goblins are a real animal that inhabits people too. so yeah, basically Ezekiel Sims, who does later turn bad in the JMS run, is the villain here, and it's totally inexplicable because you don't know at all why he's doing what he's doing. Not that I really wanted to know, but he kills Cassie Webb's mother when she's hunting for a rare spider in the Amazon, and then presumably gets bit by that spider and gets the bootleg spider powers. And then what he does in the ensuing 30 years, not at all clear, but it seems maybe he's running some sort of evil company, Kingpin or Norman Osborn style,
Yeah.
and that's why the Spider Girls are coming to kill him.
So there's no real clear motive.
But, well, he has a clear motive in that he has this vision of the Spider Girls coming to kill him, and so he wants to kill them first,
And that's
while they're
it.
teenagers.
Yeah.
But why he Cassie Webb's mother is
It's never explained.
very unclear.
Okay.
Yeah, or like he vaguely alludes to being traumatized, but the trauma is not spelled out, thank God. And so sometimes it's very unclear. Sometimes in this movie he's just in a suit like the character is in the comics. Sometimes he doesn't have shoes like the character doesn't have shoes in the comics because he wants to walk on walls. And then sometimes he's in this bootleg Spider-Man costume. The way Noah described it was, it looks like what Miles Morales' stunt double would wear.
It's got all these lines on it, but they're not the right lines. But they're not
No,
the
they're
Spider-Man
wrong
lines.
lines.
Yeah,
They're
they're
wrong
weird.
lines. So yeah, it's not just that Madam Web is having to protect the Spider Girls and being born Peter Parker from a villain, but she's having to protect them from bootleg Spider-Man.
This is awful.
And
this is so bad.
there is the origin of an interesting idea going on here where the movie is treating Spider-Man as a horror movie character, which there is something interesting there, right? The idea of being pursued by someone with Spider-Man's powers is horrible.
Right.
It's going for an interesting thing there, but it just can't commit to it, and it doesn't do anything really, really interesting with it. Yeah. So we come to our next connection, Matt. We've talked about the connection to Smallville. We've talked about the connection to the Sam Raimi films. We've talked about the connection to Birds of Prey, the TV show. Matt, what if I told you that this movie was ripping off a movie that came out 5 years after it set, The Dark Knight?
How, Bob? How is it doing that? The Dark Knight was a decent film.
So, Ezekiel Sims, a.k.a. Bootleg Spider-Man, wants to kill the Spider-Girls.
Okay.
The future Spider-Girls. How do you think he tracks them down?
Well, it's 2003, so I guess it's not their cell phones.
Cell phones are involved. They are involved.
Okay.
Do you remember what Batman and Alfred do at the end of The Dark Knight?
Batman and Alfred or Batman and Lucius Fox?
Or maybe it's Lucius Fox.
You talking about tracking people through their cell phones?
Yes. So
wait, in 2003?
Wait. In 2003, Bootleg Spider-Man, in his nice suit, goes to the opera, and he just starts annoying this woman at the opera who's played by Jill Hennessy from Law and Order.
Okay.
And at first I thought it was like a harassment campaign. She was some sort of business rival, or she was an employee who was blowing the whistle on him or something, and he was annoying her to intimidate her. That was my first read on the scene. But no, he was seducing her. And so we go back to his penthouse, the penthouse in which the Spider-Girls are going to break in and murder him. He has the dream again about the Spider-Girls. And then he explains this to Jill Hennessy as they lay in bed post-coitus. And then he poisons her and says that he'll kill her if she doesn't give him her NSA password. And then she gives him her NSA password, and then he lets her die anyway.
Okay.
And then he gets he gets the NSA password. And Matt, do you remember in Morbius the movie, there was a cop who was apparently actually a character in Spider-Man comics, and in some versions of the trailer had a cybernetic arm, but didn't have a cybernetic arm in the actual film?
I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a new character introduced here. She's played by Peggy's lesbian friend from Mad Men, and she's a very good actress on Mad Men. It's great show. But there's a redhead brought in here, played by Joyce from Mad Men. And basically, with the NSA password from Jill Hennessy, Ezekiel Sims, a.k.a. Bootleg Spider-Man, sets up this random redhead as Oracle, where she's hacking into the NSA databases. She's on all, like cop channels. She has all surveillance cameras in this New York City at her disposal, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they made such a big deal out of this redheaded Oracle that, like, I assumed that she had to be like a comics character. No, she's just a random character. They just invented her for this.
Oh, trying to make original characters, Bob. What's wrong with that?
And so that's why the girls have to stay at Richard and Mary Parker's house and not leave it for a week, because the NSA would get them. Although the hilarious thing is that Madam Web and the Spider-Girls never actually know that NSA and cameras are how Ezekiel is tracking them. And so they never know that. The plot never reveals that to them, but they just instinctually know, okay, we can't leave this house for a week while Madam Web runs to Peru.
Well, Bob, they're spider women. Shouldn't that,
Yeah.
Magic.
All right. Now, Matt, I know I've talked a lot at you, but are you ready for my ultra theory of this movie?
Sure, Bob. Hit me with the ultra theory.
Before I tell you the ultra theory, Matt, have you seen the clip of Kamala Harris asking, "Did you just fall out of the coconut tree?" and then uncomfortably laughing, and then explaining in a very condescending way that we all exist in the context of everyone who came before us?
Yes, Bob. I have heard that.
What if I told you that I think Kamala Harris and Madam Web are the same person? You see, because Madam Web falls a lot in this movie.
Yes.
And, I mean, there are not coconut trees in the Peruvian Amazon, to my knowledge, but there are a lot of trees, and spider people do fall out of them. And then when Madame Web goes into her clairvoyant state, she sees the webs connecting all of us. She sees how we're all connected. And what this movie specifically is about, it's about how the Spider-Girl's parents are all terrible parents and don't care about them. So the Spider-Girls are these young millennial feminists being neglected by their boomer parents. We might even say that their boomer parents are Joe Biden. And Kamala Harris is a Gen Xer. As Cassie Webb, Kamala Harris is a Gen X feminist who can see everything and knows everything and knows that sometimes, Matt, losing is winning. And sometimes even when your Gen X feminist new mom abandons you and goes to Peru for a week for no real reason, she's not really abandoning you, Matt. She's going to come back and the Democratic Party is going to win. So that's what I really think this movie is about three millennial feminists discovering that they need to ally with Gen X and not the boomers. Do you follow me?
Yeah, Bob. I feel like you were really bored during this movie, and you came up with something just to try to appease your brain.
No, it's there. Dakota Johnson is Kamala Harris. That is the theme of this movie. That is the theme of this movie.
Jesus Christ.
Matt, did you look up if there was an end credit scene to this?
Actually, no, Bob. I'm usually excited about end credit scenes, but after Aquaman 2's, I just gave up. I don't think.
What was Aquaman's 2's? I don't know what Aquaman 2's.
Aquaman. So one of the characters is eating a roach.
Huh.
That was it.
Like one of the Atlantis characters?
Yes, I don't remember which one. I didn't.
Is it Willem Dafoe?
No.
Or did he die in the first one? I don't remember.
I don't remember either, Bob. But I'm just saying that was the end credit for that. I was like,
it wasn't Nicole Kidman, was it?
No, it was a dude. I think it's supposed to be Aquaman's brother. I think.
Oh, Orm, Ocean Master.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, Bob. See, end credit. Is there an end credit scene to this?
No, there's not. I mean, in a way, Madame Web's vision of the three Spider-Girls fighting crime in the future is sort of already the end credits scene, if you feel me.
Right.
But
it's foreshadowing for a film that's never going to happen.
Yeah. I was so tired and needed to go to the bathroom so badly, and the theater raised the lights on the credits, which I think they usually raise the lights on end credit scenes anyway, which is annoying. But I was just, even if there is one, I'm not sticking around for this.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, this sounds like a terrible movie, and it is, in fact, a terrible movie. It's, again, just on a level of basic craft, it's one of the worst films I've ever seen. That said, still better than Black Panther 2 or Ant-Man 3, and I'm still psyched for Kraven this summer and Venom 3 this winter.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm just I may watch Kraven, Bob. I don't think I have yet to see Venom 2. So
I saw Venom 2 on a plane and the audio kept dropping out, but what I saw I liked.
Okay.
I think it was also only 88 minutes.
That's very nice. Sony can do that when they want. Like, Sony's films are usually shorter, I feel like, sometimes. Of course, this one wasn't, but...
Yeah. It easily could have been. So, Matt, do you know what else is on the tap for the future of the Sony Spider-Man universe?
Well, I know they were talking about El Muerto, but I thought Bad Bunny dropped out of that.
He did drop out, but they're still talking about doing El Muerto. So, it may happen without Bad Bunny.
Okay. I don't imagine that happen. Not after Blue Beetle bombed.
Oh, did Blue Beetle bomb?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure it did. I don't think it did well. I mean, nobody's talking about it.
Matt, you say you can't see El Muerto happening, but I couldn't see Kraven or Madame Web happening, and yet here we are.
That's true. It's very true.
There's still a Sinister Six movie, maybe. I don't think there's any firm plans for it, but maybe a Sinister Six movie. And then they're talking about, I don't know who the Hypno Hustler is, but they're talking about having Donald Glover play the Hypno Hustler.
Interesting. I don't know if that's going to be good. I like Donald Glover, though, so...
Yeah. Do you know who the Hypno Hustler is?
No, I don't have a clue. No.
Okay.
With that Sinister Six film, though, Bob, I mean, we've got... How are they going to do that without introducing a bunch of characters that, I think, they're just going to whip out Sinister Six film?
Well, I mean, they could do... I don't think it's for sure they're going to do it at all, but, like, Venom, Carnage, Morbius, Vampire AOC from Morbius.
Oh, I forgot about
Kraven.
Oh, God, yeah.
Kraven and Vulture from
the one that came
gets
over
you to
from the
6.
MCU. So yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, I guess that does make sense. I was just thinking of Doc Ock not being there, or Electro.
Yeah, it is a little weird. It is a little weird. And they might maybe they'd bring, Jamie Foxx or Alfred Molina back, maybe.
I guess they could, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's still talk of now it seems like ambiguous if it would be on MGM Plus or if it would be on Amazon Prime. But there's at least still talk of Silk, Spider-Man Noir, and TV shows, and there's talk of a Silver Sable plus Black Cat TV show.
Yeah, it's the same stuff. I mean, they keep pushing these things, and that's probably what's next on the docket. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah,
because
I
feel like I did not think a Madam Web movie would ever be made, and there it is. It's
same, man. Same.
So we're just gonna keep saying, yeah, these things will happen, and they're gonna suck, but whatever.
Yeah, and I guess I don't think we know for sure anything's gonna happen after Kraven and Venom 3. And I mean, it does raise the question: is this movie so bad? Will it kill the Sony Spider-Man universe? It's entirely possible.
Well, great job, Madam Web.
Indeed,
you've killed the Sony universe, possibly.
Yeah,
I think Craven's gonna. I think it's Craven's last stand is gonna be the last stand for Sony.
We'll definitely get Venom 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what a wild time! What a wild time, man. So I appreciate you letting me yell at you about Madam Web. It was an important part of my therapy.
Well, I'll never watch the film, Bob. So
at least while I'm alive, Matt. At least while I'm alive.
Yep.
All right. Well, this has been I would say this is better than the Batman episode, but not much. Yep. So the second worst Uncanny Treks episode of all time. I am Bob in Cascadia. That is Matt in the Southland. Join us for our coverage of something actually good, which is to say the John Hickman Fantastic Four run. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks for listening.